Greetings, Rabbi Aaron Boxt, back again for my podcast. I want to do something a little bit different today, and I actually want to focus my podcast on the Torah portion, or part of the Torah portion for this week. So this week, we are in Parshat Shoftim from the book of Deuteronomy, and the section of the parsha that I want to refer to, or that I want to focus on, is chapter 20 of the book of Deuteronomy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some of the lines, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm focusing on it. So the first line is chapter 20, verse 1. When you, an Israelite warrior, take the field against your enemies and see horses and chariots, forces larger than yours, have no fear of them, for the eternal your God who brought you from the land of Egypt is with you. So this is pretty standard stuff. Before you join battle, the priest shall come forward and address the troops. He shall say to them, Hear, O Israel, you are about to join battle with your enemy. Let not your courage falter. Do not be in fear, or in panic, or in dread of them. For it is the eternal your God who marches with you to do battle for you against your enemy to bring you victory. Then the officials shall address the troops as follows. Is there anyone who has built a new house but has not dedicated it? Let him go back to his home, lest he die in battle and another dedicate it. Is there anyone who has planted a vineyard but has never harvested it? Let him go back to his home, lest he die in battle and another harvest it. Is there anyone who has paid the bride price for a wife, but who has not yet married her? Let him go back to his home, lest he die in battle and another marry her. The officials shall go on in addressing the troops and say, Is there anyone afraid and disheartened? Let him go back to his home, lest the courage of his comrades flag like his. When the officials have finished addressing the troops, army commanders shall assume command of the troops. So these first 10 verses of chapter 20 give conditions as to why a person is not required to go out to war. As a matter of fact, it's almost as if God is telling them that they're required not to go to war. If they have built a home but haven't had a chance to dedicate it, if they have planted a vineyard but haven't had a chance to harvest it, if they're betrothed to a woman but have not had the chance to marry her, if a person is afraid or disheartened, let him go back so that his fear does not pass on to the other members of his troops, of his brigade. What we're hearing, or what we're reading, what we're trying to understand here is that God does not want soldiers fighting for the cause if their mind isn't completely in it. If there's something back home that's holding their attention, that's holding their focus, God wants them to go back. But it's not just because of that. It's also because God recognizes that sometimes there are more important things in life. And with regards to the being afraid and disheartened, a person should not be required to fight in this war, in this battle, if they're not fully engaged. And if they're afraid, or they're fearing for their life, then they're clearly not fully engaged. They're clearly not going to be. It's possible that their fear might cause them to actually hurt some of the other comrades in his brigade. But then it goes further. Chapter 20, verse 10 begins, When you approach a town to attack it, you shall offer it in terms of peace. Okay, first thing first, offer peace. If it responds peaceably and lets you in, all the people present there shall serve you at forced labor. If it does not surrender to you, but would join battle with you, you shall lay siege to it. So offer it peace. If it doesn't want peace, too bad. Then you're going to fight. When the eternal your God delivers it into your hand, you shall put all its males to the sword. You may, however, take the women, the children, the livestock, and everything in town, all that spoil, and enjoy the use of the spoil of your enemy, which the Eternal your God gives you. So you are to spare the women and children. This is conditional. Offer peace. If there's no acceptance of peace, you can go to war, but you must not kill the women and the children. Okay, but it goes further. I'm going to skip down to 19. When in your war against a city, you have to besiege it a long time in order to capture it. You must not destroy its trees, wielding the axe against them. You may eat of them, but you must not cut them down. Only trees that you know do not yield food may be destroyed. You may cut them down for constructing cities and things for the city that is waging war against you until it has been reduced. So now we save the women and children, and we don't kill trees that produce fruit or food. These trees provide a source of life, provide a source of food and sustenance for the living. These are conditions that God is setting for us because the future of that land, the people in it, will be dependent on those trees, on that fruit, on that food. So why am I focusing so much on this part of this chapter, of this parsha? Well, I get asked all the time, mostly from non-Jews, how I feel about the war going on in Israel, Gaza. And what I have to read sometimes in between the lines of the question. They're not really wanting me to say what they want me to. They're not really wanting me to say what I want to say. I believe that most of the time they're expecting me to say what they want me to say. And they want me to condemn Israel for X, Y, and Z. Look, I do not like death. I do not like starvation. I do not like any kind of catastrophic situation for any people in this world. But when you're fighting a war against an enemy that doesn't have rules of war, that doesn't abide to the international understood rules of war, of battle, and you go back to the Torah, the book of Deuteronomy, which is thousands of years old, and you say, even in our sacred texts, we are told and commanded to act according to certain rules and laws with regards to battle. Obviously, in this day and age, the rules and the laws have changed, but there are still rules and laws that are to be abided by, that are to be followed, regardless of who you're fighting against. But think about how hard it is to fight a war, period. Then throw in that the people that you're fighting against don't have rules, and their only intention or their only desire is for your complete annihilation and the annihilation of anybody in the world that goes against them or supports you. This is not an even war. You know, I've heard some people say, well, you know, Israel's got all this technology and the Palestinians in Gaza, you know, they don't have as much, and Israel is like today's version of Goliath and Gaza is David, if you go back to the story of David and Goliath. Look, I am not going to for a moment suggest that Israel is not more technologically advanced than Gaza. Of course they are. Because they've taken the resources that they have and they've developed them in ways that are better for their country to succeed, for their people to live in peace and harmony. All Israel wants is to have their people live in peace and health and safety. If the Hamas leaders wanted that same thing for the Palestinians in Gaza, it could be accomplished like that. The hostages would be freed, and the Gazans would be able to live in peace and harmony next to a neighbor that would actually help them survive. Let's not forget that when Israel left the Gaza Strip, they left tons and tons of infrastructure and resources behind that the Hamas people came in and totally destroyed, wanted to have nothing to do with anything that was Israeli. We're fighting a war against an enemy that doesn't abide by any rules or laws. Their one rule is to kill as many Jews and Israelis as possible. Period. End. Stop. My hope is that there will be peace one day, sooner rather than later. I pray for this. I hope for this. And most importantly, I pray for understanding, which will lead to love. Shabbat Shalom.